My name is Sarah Bennett, and I'm 38 years old. 6 months ago, I buried my husband and 2 children, completely alone. My parents couldn't make it because they were busy celebrating my sister's birthday. When I called them, sobbing, to tell them that Michael, Emma, and Noah had been killed by a drunk driver, my father's response broke what was left of my heart. Today is Jessica's birthday. We can't come. Those 7 words didn't just end a conversation, they ended my lifetime role as the family doormat. What my parents didn't realize was that Michael's death would set off something they never could have imagined. The $5 million life insurance policy was just the start. The real shock came later, when they saw what I'd built from the ruins of my grief plastered across the front page of our local newspaper. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we dive into this painful story, take a moment to like and subscribe, only if this truly connects with you. I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time it is there. Let's go back to that morning, the one that changed everything. It was a calm Tuesday in March. Michael was making dinosaur-shaped pancakes for Noah, our 6-year-old, while Emma, 8, practiced her violin in the living room. I kissed them all goodbye at 7:45 a.m. Michael's breath tasted like coffee and maple syrup when he whispered, "Love you, Sarah. See you tonight for Taco Tuesday." Those were the last words he ever said to me. At 8:17 a.m., a truck driver, who had been behind the wheel for 16 straight hours, sped through a red light at Maple and 3rd. The police later told me Michael had no chance to react. The crash was immediate. Devastating. They said no one suffered, as if that could make it hurt less. I was in a meeting when my phone rang. "Mrs. Bennett," said a steady voice. "This is Officer Davidson with the state police. There's been an accident." The world tilted. My assistant's voice faded to static. Somehow, I made it to the hospital, though I don't remember driving. The hallway to the morgue stretched endlessly under harsh fluorescent lights. The identification process. I'll spare the details. Some images don't belong in anyone else's mind. But I had to identify them, one by one. First Michael. Then Emma. Then my baby, Noah. Each white sheet lifted felt like another piece of my soul being ripped away. The officer told me the drunk driver walked away with a few scratches. His blood alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit, at 8 in the morning. I called my parents from the hospital parking lot. My hands trembled so badly I could barely hold the phone. My mother answered on the 3rd ring. I could hear laughter in the background. "Mom," I sobbed, "they're gone. Michael, Emma, Noah, they're all gone." Silence. Then my father took the phone. "What do you mean, gone?" he asked. Through tears, I explained about the crash, the drunk driver, the morgue, the funeral I needed to plan. His response came calm, almost bored. "Sarah, today is Jessica's birthday. We've had the country club booked for months. We can't come." Those words, they were the beginning of my real nightmare. To understand the weight of that moment, you need to know my family. Growing up, I was the dependable one, the quiet, obedient daughter who never made trouble. "Good daughters don't keep score, Sarah," my mother used to say whenever I noticed unfair treatment. When I was 17, I gave up a full scholarship to Northwestern so Jessica could use my college fund for a gap year in Europe. "She needs to find herself," my parents said. She found parties and debt. When Mom had hip surgery 5 years ago, I took 3 unpaid months off work to care for her. Jessica was too busy with a new boyfriend, her 3rd that year. I slept on a cot in the living room, cooked, cleaned, managed her meds, and drove to every appointment. The day Mom could walk again, Jessica showed up with flowers and was praised as the perfect daughter. At my wedding, Jessica announced her pregnancy. At my promotion to senior partner, she made headlines with her divorce. Every moment that should have been mine was overshadowed by Jessica's endless drama. Michael was the only one who saw it clearly. "They've trained you to disappear," he said after one brutal family dinner, where I'd cooked for hours only for Jessica to show up late with takeout. But they're my family, I always said. Family doesn't make you feel invisible, he'd remind me. Now Michael was gone. My children were gone. And my parents couldn't skip a party for their granddaughter's funeral. When I told them, my father said, "We can't disappoint Jessica. You know how she gets when plans change." In the background, I heard my sister's voice. "Is that Sarah? Tell her not to ruin my day with another crisis." "Dad, please," I begged. "I need you. I can't do this alone." "You're strong, Sarah," he replied. "You'll manage. We'll call tomorrow." The line went dead. I stared at my phone, trembling. My hands were still covered in Noah's dinosaur band-aids, his favorite. My children lay in the morgue, and my parents refused to come. I called again. Mom picked up this time. "Mom, please. The funeral home needs answers. I don't know how to do this." Her voice softened. "Sweetie, your dad's right. Jessica's been planning this party for months. Everyone's here. We can't just leave. My children are dead." I screamed. People turned to stare. "Don't be dramatic, Sarah," she whispered. "We'll help next week." "The funeral can wait a few days, can't it?" The funeral could wait. As if Emma and Noah were appointments I could reschedule. Then came the words that will haunt me forever. "Today is your sister's birthday. We can't disappoint her." 20 minutes later, Jessica called. "Why would you call during my party?" she snapped. "You've totally ruined the mood. Mom's upset, Dad's annoyed, and my guests are asking questions." "Jessica," I said quietly, "Michael is dead. Emma is dead. Noah is dead." "I heard," she said. "That's awful, but couldn't you have waited until tomorrow? You've ruined my special day." I felt the air leave my lungs. "Are you coming to the funeral?" "When is it?" "Friday." "Oh, no, we have concert tickets." They were really expensive. At the funeral, St. Mary's Cathedral was half full. Michael's co-workers filled one side. His elderly parents, who'd flown in from Seattle despite their health, sat with me. The other side, where my family should have been, was completely empty. I stood alone between 3 coffins, Noah's decorated with painted dinosaurs, Emma's with musical notes, and Michael's simple oak casket, just as he'd wanted. That night, Jessica posted birthday photos on Facebook, champagne in hand, surrounded by friends. The caption read, "Best birthday ever. Feeling so blessed. #35 and thriving." 67 likes. 12 comments. Not one mention of her dead niece and nephew. If you've ever been invisible in your own family, you understand, this pain cuts to the bone. Now let me tell you what happened when I stopped being the good daughter and discovered just how much Michael had prepared for me. The funeral costs hit like a hammer. 3 coffins. 3 burial plots. A $30,000 bill. "We can set up a payment plan," the director said gently. "A payment plan. For my family's deaths." Our mortgage was maxed out. My consulting income barely covered groceries. Michael had been the breadwinner. His parents offered $5,000, likely their life savings. Then the insurance company called. "Mrs. Bennett, we need to discuss your husband's policy in person. It's substantial." I assumed substantial meant enough to survive for a few months. I was wrong. 2 weeks passed without a single call from my parents. Just one text, "How are you holding up?" I didn't reply. The house felt frozen in time, Emma's violin, Noah's toys, Michael's coffee mug still on the counter. I couldn't move. Sleep was impossible. I'd hear phantom laughter, footsteps, songs. The neighbors avoided me. Not cruelly, just awkwardly. Mrs. Patterson left casseroles on my porch without knocking. 3 weeks after the funeral, still nothing from my parents. Jessica had blocked me after I commented on her party photos. These were taken the day you skipped your niece and nephew's funeral. The mailbox filled with sympathy cards from Michael's co-workers, but not a single note from my own family. One night, standing on the deck, I stared at the stars. Emma had loved constellations. Noah always looked for dinosaur stars. For a moment, I wondered if joining them might be easier. Then my lawyer's message saved me. "Mrs. Bennett," said David Chen, "we need to discuss your husband's estate. It's time sensitive." Even in death, Michael was still taking care of me. I called the next morning. "Can you come in today?" Chen asked. "What I have to tell you can't wait." 2 weeks later, my phone rang again. My mother's name flashed on the screen. "Hi, sweetie," she said casually. "How are you holding up?" "How do you think?" I replied flatly. No need for that tone. "Your father and I were thinking, you must have some financial matters to sort through." "Did Michael leave anything?" There it was, the real reason. "I'm still handling things," I said carefully. "Well, family helps family," she replied. "If there's life insurance or savings, maybe you could share." Jessica and James are trying for a baby, and fertility treatments are expensive. I froze. "Are you actually asking me for money right now?" "Don't be selfish, Sarah. Your father thinks Michael would have wanted that." I hung up. My hands trembled, not from grief, but from pure fury. Michael had been generous. He'd loaned Jessica $10,000 for her wedding, paid for my parents' anniversary cruise, and never asked for repayment. Minutes later, Dad left a voicemail. "Sarah, your mother's upset. You owe her an apology. We need to discuss your finances. As your father, I have a right to know what provisions were made." As my father, the man who couldn't leave a birthday party for his grandchildren's funeral, demanded to know my finances. I turned off my phone. For the first time since the accident, I felt something powerful, anger. A week later, Jessica showed up unannounced. James was with her, scanning my home like an appraiser. "We were in the neighborhood," she said, stepping inside without invitation. "Nice place," James added, running his hand along the countertop Michael had installed. "Must be worth, what, $500,000? Why are you here?" I asked. Jessica smiled with false concern. "We're worried about you, Sarah. All alone in this big house, it's not healthy." "You weren't worried 3 weeks ago," I replied. "That's unfair," she said. "We had plans." She wandered the living room, eyeing the piano we'd bought for Emma. "You know, this house is too much space for one person." "What exactly are you suggesting?" James smirked. "We could take it off your hands. Family discount, of course. Maybe 300,000. Cash deal. Quick close." The house was worth at least $500,000, they both knew it. "You need to leave," I said quietly. "Don't be ridiculous," Jessica snapped. "We're trying to help. You're being selfish, hoarding all this space alone. Get out, Sarah. Get out." They left, but not before Jessica delivered her parting shot. "Mom and Dad are right about you. You've always been ungrateful. I would never treat family this way." As their car pulled away, I noticed James taking photos of the house with his phone. They were already planning their next move. Jessica's last words made it clear, they weren't done with me yet. That evening, my father called. His voice carried the same disappointed tone he'd used when I was a child. "Your sister tells me you were rude to her. She tried to buy my house for $200,000 under market value. Family helps family. Sarah, you need to think about others for once." "For once?" My voice cracked. "I gave up my scholarship for Jessica. I nursed Mom after her surgery. I've been helping others my entire life. No one asked you to do those things. You chose to be a martyr." The word hit like a slap. Martyr? Jessica needs money for IVF, he continued. You have a big house. Life insurance coming. You could help. Dad, I just buried my children. That was a month ago. Sarah, it's time to move forward. Jessica's trying to create life. You should support that instead of wallowing. Wallowing. My 6-year-old son was dead, and I was wallowing. If you don't start thinking about family, he said coldly, we'll have to reconsider our relationship with you. What relationship? I asked quietly. You didn't come to the funeral. You haven't called. You haven't even met me for coffee. We have our reasons. You've always been difficult, Sarah. Jessica would never put us in this position. Then go be with Jessica. Are you giving us an ultimatum? No, Dad. I'm done. If you want to cut me off, then do it. There was a long pause. You'll regret this, Sarah. When you're alone with no family, you'll regret pushing us away. I'm already alone. Then so be it. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, waiting to feel devastated. But instead, I felt free. For the first time in my life, I'd chosen myself. The next morning, Attorney Davidson arrived at my door. A tall, distinguished man in his 50s, he carried a leather briefcase that looked expensive. Mrs. Bennett, he said politely, I apologize for the intrusion, but you haven't returned my calls. I'm sorry. I haven't been checking messages. May I come in? What I have to discuss is extremely important. We sat in Michael's office. Chin pulled out a thick folder, his expression serious but kind. Your husband was one of the most prepared clients I've ever had. He updated his will every year, and his life insurance policies are substantial. Policies, plural? I asked. Mrs. Bennett, your husband held multiple life insurance policies totaling $5 million. The room spun. That's impossible. We lived paycheck to paycheck sometimes. He was very specific about keeping this private, Chin said. He told me, and I quote, my wife's sacrifice is enough for everyone else. This is for her alone. Chin continued, there are also specific conditions attached. Your husband was very particular about how these funds could be used. What kind of conditions? I'll need to review them with you in detail, but there are provisions regarding family members, charitable giving, and some very specific instructions about distribution. Michael had planned all of this. Your husband came to me 8 years ago, right after your daughter was born, Chen explained. He said something I'll never forget, my wife's family doesn't value her, but I want to make sure she's protected if anything happens to me. My eyes filled with tears. Even in death, Michael was still protecting me. There's more, Chen said, pulling out another document. But first, I think you should read this letter from your husband. He wrote it 2 years ago with instructions to deliver it under certain conditions. A week later, I received an email from Global Life Insurance. The CEO, Patricia Williams, requested a personal meeting. This is highly unusual, her email read, but given the circumstances and the size of the policy, I'd like to handle this personally. I googled her. Patricia Williams was one of Forbes' 50 most powerful women in business. Why would someone like her want to meet with me? At her office, Patricia greeted me warmly. She was younger than I expected, maybe 45, with kind eyes behind designer glasses. Mrs. Bennett, I knew your husband professionally, she said. He consulted for us several years ago on a data security project. I hadn't known that. Michael often took side consulting work but rarely shared the details. He impressed everyone here with his thoroughness and foresight. When he purchased his life insurance policies, he insisted on several unusual provisions. Attorney Chin mentioned conditions. Yes. Your husband anticipated potential complications with your family. He built in safeguards to protect you. She pulled out a document. He also recorded a video statement to accompany the policy. Would you like to see it? My heart stopped. A video? Patricia nodded and set up a laptop before leaving the room. Michael appeared on the screen, sitting in what looked like Chen's office. He wore his favorite blue tie, the one Emma had picked out for Father's Day. "Sarah," he began, "if you're watching this, it means I'm gone. I'm so sorry, my love. But I need you to know, I prepared everything. Your family can't touch this. It's all for you. Use it to build something beautiful from this pain." Patricia returned quietly. "Mr. Bennett was one of our most prepared clients, Mrs. Bennett. His foresight was extraordinary. Sometimes the people who should support us most become our greatest source of pain. But what if I told you your husband, even in death, had prepared something that would change everything?" 2 months after the funeral, I ran into Jessica at Whole Foods. I was buying Emma's favorite cereal when I heard her voice behind me. "Oh my God, everyone, this is my sister I was telling you about." She was surrounded by 3 friends, all holding wine bottles, laughing too loudly. Jessica's voice carried across the store. "The one whose husband died and left her everything while the rest of us struggle." People turned to stare. A mother pulled her children closer, as if grief were contagious. "It's so sad," Jessica continued, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "She's hoarding millions while her own sister can't afford IVF. Can you imagine being that selfish?" "Jessica, stop," I said quietly. "Oh, she speaks. Everyone, Sarah got $5 million in life insurance, $5 million. And she won't help her own family." The store fell silent. An employee started recording on his phone. "My poor parents are heartbroken," Jessica went on. "They raised her better than this." "The parents who skipped the funeral?" I asked, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. Jessica's face reddened. "That's a lie. Tell them the truth, Sarah." "The truth?" I said. "The truth is you posted birthday party photos while I buried my children alone." "She's delusional with grief," Jessica announced to the growing crowd. "This is why we're considering having her evaluated." The store manager approached with security. "I'm leaving," I said, abandoning my cart. As I passed, Jessica grabbed my arm. "This isn't over. Mom and Dad know lawyers too." 3 days later, I received a text from Mom. "Family meeting. Our house. 2 p.m. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I arrived to find 20 relatives packed into my parents' living room. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years, even my father's brother from Florida. "This is an intervention," Aunt Linda announced, holding prepared notes. "An intervention for what?" "Your mental state," Mom said softly. "Grief has clearly affected your judgment." A woman I didn't recognize stood up. "I'm Dr. Foster, a family counseling specialist. Your family is concerned about your emotional instability and inability to make sound financial decisions." "You hired a therapist to ambush me?" "It's not an ambush," Dad said. "It's love. We're trying to help you see reason." Jessica sat in the corner, tissue in hand, pretending to cry grief she'd never shown for my children. "Sarah, Dr. Foster began, your family feels you're not processing your loss appropriately, holding on to resources that could help create new life." "You mean Jessica's IVF?" "That attitude," she said, "suggests an unhealthy attachment to the past." My cousin Mark chimed in, "We all think you should put the money in a family trust, for everyone's benefit." "Including yours, Mark?" I asked. He looked away. "This is about money," I said, standing. "My children are dead, and you're all here for money." "Sit down, Sarah," my father commanded. "No, if you leave, we'll have no choice but to pursue legal options," Aunt Linda said. "For your own good," Mom added. But I was already walking to the door. That night, Jessica's Facebook post went viral, "Prayers needed. My sister Sarah, the one who lost her family in that terrible accident, is having a mental breakdown." She inherited millions but won't help anyone, not even our elderly parents. Please be kind if you see her. Hashtag mental health awareness. Hashtag family first. Within hours, it had over 500 shares. Comments poured in, so sad when grief breaks someone. Money changes people. Maybe she needs help. Then, something unexpected happened. Michael's best friend, Tom, commented, "This is lies. Sarah's family skipped the funeral for your birthday party." I was there. I saw the empty seats. Delete this post, or I'll share the guest book. Jessica deleted it within minutes, but screenshots were already spreading. Michael's former colleague added, "I delivered food to Sarah while you were posting party pics. Stop this." Then Michael's mother, sweet 70-year-old Dorothy, wrote, "Jessica Walker, you are a liar. I flew from Seattle with 2 hip replacements to bury my son and grandchildren. You were not there. Your parents were not there. Sarah stood alone. I have photos." The tide began to turn. But Jessica had one more move. She posted a final update. "Some people's true colors show when money enters the picture. I'm done trying to help someone who doesn't want it. Hashtag toxic family. Hashtag boundaries." She was right about one thing: true colors had been shown. When I next met with Patricia Williams, she spread the $5 million policy documents across her desk. "This is real," I whispered. "Very real," she said. "Your husband purchased these policies incrementally over 8 years, paying monthly to avoid detection. He never wanted your family to know. The first policy was for $2 million when Emma was born. The second, another $2 million, when Noah arrived. The third, $1 million, 2 years ago, after what his notes called the Christmas incident. He kept detailed records," Patricia explained. "Every concerning interaction with your family. He was building a case for why this money needed protection." Then she played another part of Michael's video. "Sarah, I know you'll want to share this with everyone, it's who you are. But please, my love, don't. Your family has taken enough from you. Use this money to build something beautiful. Something that would make the kids proud." Through tears, I made a decision. "I want to create a foundation," I told Patricia. "The Bennett Family Foundation, for children who've lost parents to drunk driving." She smiled. "Your husband predicted you'd say that. He left suggestions." 6 months of quiet building followed. I worked with attorney Chen to establish the foundation using $3 million as the initial funding. The remaining $2 million went into conservative investments for my future. I personally reviewed every application. The first scholarship went to a little girl named Amy, the same age Emma would have been, who'd lost both parents to a drunk driver. Her grandmother cried when I called. By month 5, we'd helped over 100 families, covering funeral costs, therapy, and education funds. Everything I'd once needed when my world collapsed. I kept it quiet. No social media. No press. Just quiet, meaningful work that gave me purpose. "Your husband said you'd know what to do with this," Chen told me. He was right. The Bennett Family Foundation grew faster than I could have imagined. Chen connected me with other philanthropists who'd lost children. Together, we built grief counseling programs for young siblings of drunk driving victims. "This is remarkable," Chen said one day. "You've helped more families in 6 months than most foundations do in years." "It's what Michael, Emma, and Noah would have wanted," I said. "We funded a music therapy program in Emma's name, she'd loved her violin, and created Noah's dinosaur library to send books to children who'd lost siblings. Our small office became a sanctuary run by 2 mothers who, like me, had lost children to drunk drivers. We didn't need words to understand each other. Hospitals began referring families to us. Police departments kept our cards to hand out at accident scenes. One officer told me, "You're saving lives, Mrs. Bennett. These families have hope because of you." Michael's company donated $100,000 in his memory. His parents sent monthly checks, calling it their grandchildren's legacy. Still, I stayed silent about it. This work was sacred, untouched by my family's greed. Then a reporter called. "Mrs. Bennett, I'm doing a story on local heroes. Your foundation has helped over 500 families. The community needs to know." "I prefer to stay anonymous." "I understand," she said gently, "but your story could inspire others." I thought of all the parents who'd stood where I once had, alone and broken. Maybe it was time. One interview, I agreed. But focus on the foundation, not me. As I looked over the photos of the children we'd helped, I whispered, "This will be their legacy, Mr. Chen. Their love lives on through every family we help." The morning the article was published, I was at the cemetery, laying fresh flowers on their graves. I'd left my phone in the car, wanting just a few moments of quiet before the noise of the world found me again. The headline read, "Local Widow Turns Tragedy into Hope, the Bennett Family Foundation has helped 500 families heal." The article included a photo from our recent charity gala, me, surrounded by the families we'd helped, all wearing pins bearing Emma and Noah's smiling faces. The journalist had done her homework. She'd told the full story, the drunk driver, the 3 coffins, and the woman who stood alone at their funeral yet chose to transform grief into purpose. She'd interviewed several of the families our foundation had supported. Amy's grandmother had been quoted saying, "Sarah Bennett saved us. When the world saw only tragedy, she saw a little girl who needed hope." The final paragraph mentioned the $5 million insurance fund that started it all, calling me an entrepreneur of heart and announcing that I'd been named Philanthropist of the Year by the State Charity Commission. By 8 a.m., my phone was exploding, 47 missed calls from Dad, 83 text messages from Jessica, and 12 voicemails from Mom. Jessica's first message, "OMG, Sarah, why didn't you tell us?" The second, "We're so proud of you." The third, "Call me right now." Everything after that? A spiral of guilt, manipulation, and sudden, performative affection. Dad's voicemail was short and stern. "Sarah, this is your father. We need to talk about the foundation immediately. As your family, we should be on the board. Call me back." Mom's tone grew increasingly desperate. "Sweetheart, everyone's talking about the article. Why didn't you tell us? We could have helped. We're your parents." Then came the social media spectacle. Jessica shared the article with a lengthy caption about her amazing sister and how our family always supports one another. Within hours, my parents were at my doorstep. Through the security camera, I watched them ring the bell over and over. "Sarah, we know you're in there," Dad shouted. Mom's voice quivered with rehearsed tears. "Please, sweetie. We're so proud of you. We always knew you'd do great things." I didn't answer. 20 minutes later, Jessica and James showed up carrying cheap grocery store carnations, with the price tag still attached. "Sarah!" Jessica yelled. "This is ridiculous. We're family. The foundation needs us." My neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, stepped out of her house. "She's not home. And after what you all did, I'd stay away if I were you." Jessica snapped, "What we did? We're her family." Mrs. Patterson shot back, "Family doesn't skip funerals for birthday parties." She'd been there. She'd seen everything. They stayed outside for 3 hours. Then Dad called the police, claiming I was having a mental breakdown. When Officer Davidson, ironically, the same one who'd informed me about the accident, arrived, he handled it calmly. "Mr. Walker," he said, "your daughter is under no obligation to let you in. Please leave the property." Mom tried pleading. "We're just worried about her mental state." "I spoke with Mrs. Bennett yesterday about security for the foundation," he replied. "She seemed perfectly sound. Leave now, or I'll have to charge you with trespassing." They finally left, but not before Jessica yelled for the entire neighborhood to hear, we always knew you'd do great things, sweetie. We'll be here when you're ready to share your success with your family." The next morning, I received a formal letter from their attorney, requesting a family meeting to discuss their rightful role in the foundation. Apparently, they always knew I'd do great things, right after calling me selfish for refusing to share. When I stepped into Attorney Chen's office, it felt like entering a sanctuary. The conference room was filled, my parents, Jessica and James, their lawyer, Chen, and me. Chen began, calm and composed. "Thank you all for coming." Mr. Bennett anticipated this moment. Dad frowned. "What do you mean, anticipated?" Chen pulled out a sealed envelope. Mr. Bennett left explicit instructions to be opened if certain conditions were met. The publication of the article and your presence here satisfy those conditions. He opened the envelope and began reading aloud. To the Walker family, Michael's letter began, "If you're hearing this, it means you've discovered Sarah's inheritance and are attempting to claim part of it. Let me be absolutely clear, you have no moral or legal right to any of it." Mom gasped. Jessica's face flushed red. Michael's letter continued, "I documented every instance of how you treated my wife. The birthdays you prioritized over her accomplishments, the money you borrowed and never repaid, the emotional manipulation you disguised as family duty." Chen placed a folder on the table. "Mr. Bennett hired a private investigator to verify every detail. We have full documentation." "This is absurd." Jessica snapped. Chen ignored her and kept reading. "If you skipped Sarah's, and our children's, funeral, which I suspect you did, you forfeited all claims to sympathy or support. The Bennett Foundation bylaws specifically exclude anyone who failed to attend those funerals." Dad muttered, "How could he possibly know?" "There's more," Chen said. He opened a laptop and pressed play. Footage appeared, the funeral, filmed professionally. The camera panned over the empty family section, zooming in on 3 small nameplates, reserved for Robert Walker, reserved for Linda Walker, reserved for Jessica Walker Morrison. The timestamp confirmed everything. Michael's recorded message followed. He appeared on screen, wearing the shirt Emma had picked for his birthday, seated in Chen's office. "Hello, Robert." "Hello, Linda." "Hello, Jessica," he said. "If you're watching this, you've proven exactly who I always knew you were." Jessica tried to interrupt, but Chen silenced her. Michael continued, "For 15 years, I've watched you belittle Sarah. I've documented every insult, every manipulation, every attempt to make her feel small. She never saw it, because she loved you too much, but I did." He held up papers. "Here are receipts, the $10,000 for Jessica's wedding you never repaid, the $5,000 for Robert's failed business venture, the anniversary trip we paid for. $37,000 over 8 years. Dad's face turned ashen. Michael's tone sharpened. "And here's what matters most. The entire funeral was filmed, timestamped, and archived. If you weren't there, and I know you weren't, it's all proof. Don't even think about touching a cent of Sarah's inheritance. You had your chance to be family." The screen faded to black. Then Chen added, "And that's not all." He handed out another document. "The Whole Foods video of your confrontation went viral. Someone combined it with Jessica's birthday photos. The caption read, 'This woman partied while her sister buried her children, now she wants the money.' Jessica was fired within days. Her company released a vague statement about values misalignment, but everyone knew the truth. James lost his business partners. 'We can't be associated with this,' one publicly posted on LinkedIn. Dad was forced to resign from his church board. 'The congregation no longer has faith in your moral leadership,' the pastor told him. Mom's social circle revoked her gala invitation, citing inappropriateness given recent revelations. Their reputations disintegrated overnight, neighbors avoided them, the country club canceled their membership, and even extended family distanced themselves. Aunt Linda posted, 'We had no idea they skipped the funeral. If we'd known, we'd never have joined that intervention. Local news picked up the story, family greed exposed, one woman's tragedy reveals the truth about her own blood. Reporters interviewed Mrs. Patterson, Tom, and several families our foundation helped. The final blow came from Jessica's former friend, who wrote, "I was at Whole Foods." Jessica laughed about her sister's grief. It was disgusting. Karma had arrived, slow, but certain. I declined every interview. When reporters called, my only statement was, the foundation's work speaks for itself. No gossip. No revenge tour. Just quiet dignity. The Bennett Foundation expanded to 3 more states, helping thousands of families. Every donation was tracked. Every story honored. At Christmas, I sent my parents and Jessica cards, no gifts, no checks. Just a printed note, wishing you peace this holiday season. A $100 donation has been made to the Bennett Family Foundation in your name. It appeared publicly in our annual report, buried among hundreds of other small community donations. Mom called 37 times on Christmas Day. I didn't answer. Months later, Mrs. Patterson told me Jessica was pregnant. Despite everything, I felt a flicker of happiness. Children are innocent of their parents' sins. Through Chen, I quietly set up a $50,000 college fund for the baby, accessible only at age 18, and only for education. Chen looked at me, puzzled. After everything they did, why? Because Emma and Noah would have wanted me to, I said softly. Because Michael always said the best revenge is grace. And because I refuse to let their cruelty change who I am. At our next annual gala, the governor, 3 senators, and hundreds of families attended. My parents and Jessica stood outside, uninvited and unable to afford tickets. The best revenge, I realized, isn't public humiliation. It's peace. A year after the accident, I returned to the graves with our foundation's annual report, over 1,000 families helped. I told Michael, your plan worked perfectly. I told Emma about the music program named after her, and Noah about the library filled with dinosaur books. Your daddy was brilliant, I whispered. He protected us even after he was gone. Now, the cemetery feels different, no longer a place of loneliness, but of chosen peace. I sold the old house and moved nearby, walking here each morning with coffee to tell them about the foundation's progress. Our grief support group now meets weekly in the foundation building, a family built not by blood, but by shared survival. Your Aunt Jessica had her baby, I told the graves one morning. A little girl named Sophia. She'll have a college fund waiting for her, though your grandparents will never know it came from us. That same day, I received a letter from Jessica, 6 pages of apologies and explanations. The pages were water-stained, the ink smudged by tears. Sarah, she wrote, I know I don't deserve this. I was cruel, selfish, unforgivable. Sophia looks like Emma sometimes. It breaks my heart that she'll never know her cousins. I'm not asking for money or forgiveness. I just needed you to know that I finally understand what we took from you, not the money, but the love, the support, the moments you needed most. I'm sorry. Truly sorry. I read it twice before replying on foundation letterhead. Jessica, thank you for your honesty. I forgive you, not for your sake, but for mine. Carrying anger is too heavy when you're already carrying grief. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. Some wounds cut too deep to heal with words. You chose a party over my children's funeral. That choice defined us forever. Love Sophia the way you couldn't love Emma and Noah. Be present for her in ways you never were for them. This will be our final communication. Please respect this boundary. Sarah. I enclosed a photo of Emma and Noah from their last Christmas together, writing on the back, for Sophia, so she knows they existed. Chen mailed it without a return address. No further correspondence will be accepted, he said. That evening, our foundation board unanimously approved a new policy. No positions shall be offered to individuals who failed to support founding families in their time of loss. Because forgiveness isn't forgetting. 2 years have passed since the accident. The Bennett Family Foundation now operates in 12 states, helping over 2,000 families. The children we support call themselves Bennett Bears. Emma would have loved that. I've learned that real family isn't defined by blood, but by who shows up when it matters. My true family now includes Tom and his wife, who never missed a grief session. Mrs. Patterson, who still brings casseroles, but now stays to eat them with me. And Michael's parents, who video call every Sunday to hear about our progress. Chen recently handed me a final report from the private investigator Michael had hired. My parents sold their house. Jessica and James divorced. She's raising Sophia alone, working 2 jobs. The college fund I created continues to grow, for a little girl who will have chances her mother once denied herself. Some people are blessings. Others are lessons. My parents taught me that love should never come with conditions. Jessica taught me that blood doesn't equal loyalty. Their abandonment taught me that sometimes, the family you build is stronger than the one you're born into. But Michael, Emma, and Noah, they taught me what real love is. That preparation is protection. That legacy isn't measured in dollars, but in impact. Every morning, I visit their graves. Every night, I read new applications from grieving families. And in between, I live. Because that's what they would want.